Welcome to the electrifying world of electric vehicles. Today, we are diving deep into the story of the Ford F-150 Lightning and why its production has hit a major speed bump. Spoiler alert, it's not just about Ford. Stay tuned to discover how China's battery dominance impacts the entire EV industry and whether US automakers can keep up. So, let's kick things off with Ford. In 2024, Ford Motors made headlines by cutting back production on their F-150 Lightning, the electric version of their popular pickup truck. Sales of the Lightning had tanked, and one of the main reasons? It costs more than its gas-powered counterpart. And it's not just Ford facing this issue. The average price of a new electric vehicle in the US is about $55,000, making EVs a tough sell for most US consumers, especially at a time when EV adoption is critical for our climate goals. Here's a staggering fact: roughly 40% of the cost to produce an electric vehicle is in the battery. To address this, Ford started looking into building a new battery plant. They eyed sites in Virginia and Michigan in hopes of cutting costs. But there's a twist. The battery technology they plan to use comes from a company based in Fujian province, China. That company is CATL, the largest battery maker in the world. Now, let's dive deeper into the plot. Virginia's governor decided to kill the battery plant proposal in his state because of its links to China. Concerns were raised about the influence of the Chinese Communist Party on CATL, which put Ford's CEO on the defensive. Ford insisted that the plant would be a wholly owned subsidiary, but the controversy left them looking elsewhere for a site. This battery plant got caught up in the broader trade war between the US and China, sparked by the extraordinary rise of China's electric vehicle market. Today, China makes up over half of all EV sales globally and has brought slick and affordable electric cars to the market in just a few short years. So, how did Chinese companies come to dominate the world's EV battery market? The first major reason is a huge amount of government support. About 20 years ago, China was on track to become the world's largest importer of oil. Electrifying its car fleet would help China become more energy independent and address the growing air pollution problem in its cities, largely caused by car emissions. The head of the Ministry of Science and Technology at the time was a big believer in EVs. He knew that Chinese companies would struggle to compete with established internal combustion engine technology. This led to a package of policies supporting what the Chinese government defined as new energy vehicles. Chinese EV companies received subsidies for every car they sold. They also benefited from cheap land leases, cheap loans from state-owned banks, and other financial incentives. From 2009 to 2022, the Chinese government gave out an estimated $20 billion in subsidies, research spending, and tax breaks to the EV industry. Local governments also created instant markets by contracting Chinese companies to electrify their bus and taxi fleets. For instance, the city of Shenzhen's fleet of 16,000 buses was electrified by BYD before it became the world's largest EV company. To encourage consumer adoption, the government offered generous subsidies and other benefits, like discounts on charging, favorable parking, and special traffic policies for EVs. EVs even got distinct license plates, making them visibly different and signaling the special treatment they received. However, the batteries in early EVs were not very good. The Chinese government introduced stricter battery standards, tying subsidies to battery density and performance improvements. As a result, consumer EV sales in China exploded. When foreign car companies like GM and Tesla wanted to sell their EVs in China, the government required them to use Chinese-made batteries to qualify for consumer subsidies. Although China phased out consumer subsidies in 2022, the demand had already been established. By 2024, over half of new car sales in China were electric. This milestone indicated a major shift, with the majority of Chinese consumers preferring EVs over gas cars. More importantly, China dominates the steps after mining. They refine the vast majority of the world's supply of these minerals. Refining involves extracting the desired minerals from the raw materials, and it's a process often avoided by developed countries due to its polluting nature. Chinese plants also manufacture the majority of the 4 components of EV batteries and assemble them into battery cells. This dominance has historical roots. China already had a developed manufacturing base for batteries aimed at electronics. For instance, BYD started by producing batteries for electronics in the NEBS before moving into EVs. The US, historically, was never a major player in lithium-ion battery manufacturing. Japan and Korea led this space until China surpassed both. In recent years, Chinese companies have found ways to avoid using the 2 most expensive battery minerals, nickel and cobalt. They innovated with a technology called lithium iron phosphate, or LFP. In 2023, CATL announced an LFP battery that could power a car for 370 miles on just a 10-minute charge. BYD developed their own version of an LFP battery, called the Blade battery. The unique shape allows more batteries to fit into the same space, enabling cars to travel further. Currently, LFP batteries are a growing share of all EV batteries, with nearly all of them manufactured in China. However, this won't be the case for long. CATL has built battery plants in Germany and plans to build one in Hungary for the European auto market. Ford found a home for its CATL battery plant in Marshall, Michigan. Despite triggering a US House investigation, if the project goes through, it will be the first LFP plant in the US. For now, we face a choice: our desire to keep our distance from China or our need to embrace electric vehicles. What will we choose? Let's discuss in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the world of electric vehicles. Thanks for watching.